Hi team, thanks for bearing with me that I'm not able to be there today to represent Miss Allen and myself, but we have a board meeting. This is a very informal, impromptu recording, but we wanted to make sure that everyone today receives the same information. So I am going to just jump right in and excuse any flaws in this recording because I did not have time to practice. I wanted to just start by saying that if you were here last year, then you're familiar with the fact that when we are participating in STAR or Tier 2 collaboration, sometimes we stop and we kind of go back to the table to reflect, do some professional learning, discuss where we are, our practices. Just that's a part of that continual learning and improvement process. So that's what today is. So I want to go ahead and start with progress monitoring. That's kind of the progress monitoring data is sort of an Achilles heel probably for most schools, but I know that we see a lot of times where the progress monitoring data tends to be one of our areas for improvement. So today, one of the primary activities is to build individual capacity for completing progress monitoring tools that helps teachers and grade levels be more successful when they're having discussions about tiered intervention, and also if the case comes that you need to make changes to interventions and or make referrals to CSC 504 SST. So progress monitoring practice is one of the primary activities for today. We've asked each teacher to bring student data so that you can build your individual capacity. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to the counselors. They can pause this video and the counselors can walk you through that practice activity. We'll then come back to this recording so that we can tie up some loose ends because there's a couple of other topics that we wanted to make sure that we present to every grade level today. So counselors, if you would pause the video now, I'll hold for a couple of seconds and then after 5 seconds I'll start talking again, and this is what you would pick up on after the teachers practice the progress monitoring. So I'll start that now. Okay, so we're now at 2:35, so if you're pausing or if you lose your place in the recording, you go to approximately 2:35 or 2:40 for the seconds. And so you've practiced progress monitoring at this point. And again, I just want to reiterate that the progress monitoring is not just for referrals, because our goal really is ultimately that we take as many students as we can and we push them back down into Tier 1 instruction only. I do want to talk to you about some expectations or some protocols, processes for tiered collaboration on Wednesdays. And so this is a blanket statement. This may be applicable for every grade level to some degree and to every individual to varying degrees. It's going to be up to you individually and you as a grade level to self-assess these expectations and make adjustments as necessary, and that again is both on an individual and a grade level basis. So the agenda that we use for literacy and math, this agenda here, is what we would like you to use for your STAR meetings. And this is going to help us be consistent. Most of us are already doing this, but this is just a reiteration that this is the agenda and minutes for STAR, because STAR is a focused collaboration. The topic is tiered intervention instead of literacy or math. The growth area is that we would like each individual teacher and also the grade levels to work on building their individual capacity, active participation, and kind of controlling and guiding the STAR STAR meetings. We send support staff to these meetings to augment and support conversations. For example, making determinations about interventions, choosing interventions. But we would like each grade level to build their capacity for making agendas, keeping their minutes, so that the time can be used more efficiently and effectively what we find sometimes is the conversations, there's anecdotal conversations and things that's shared for, say, 30 minutes, and then we didn't have time to maybe complete progress monitoring data or discuss progress monitoring data, or we only discussed the intervention for 1 or 2 students. So in our effort to continually make these meetings more efficient, if the grade level teachers are each individually participating and sharing in the roles and responsibilities of creating agendas and minutes, that will allow you to move through these meetings and really the student needs more quickly. So you could even actually have an SST meeting during STAR time, actually, if the meeting's only 10 or 15 minutes and not 45 minutes. Or, you can get to more student needs if we're not spending 40 minutes discussing one student. But in the effort to do that, we have to build our capacity. Another example is that, for example, you might say next week, and this is on your agenda in minutes, next week we're going to go back to the progress monitoring. We're going to complete next week this progress monitoring data for 4 of our students, such and such and such and such and such and such. Next week we're also going to review the progress monitoring data for this other student. And then we're going to make some decisions about blah, blah, blah student. If those things are predetermined, then it will help you move through that process a little bit more quickly, and you'll have time to get to more activities. The better you get at that, and it will take some time to build that capacity, but the better you get at that process, then you'll be able to be a little bit ahead on sending out agendas. So you could even, for example, send an agenda out and say, hey, Ms. Summers, we need you to bring some ideas for intervention for such and such who has blah, blah, blah deficit. Or Ms. Conway or Ms. Harnman, if you could bring A, B, or C. Or Ms. Salter, what are your thoughts about this student who we've been doing this and that about? So the goal is that we're building not just grade level competency or proficiency for running these meetings, but that ultimately it's more efficient and effective for everyone. In addition to that, we're asking that individual teachers build their capacity. So, for example, every teacher should be able to complete these progress monitoring data forms so that not one person always feels like they have to be the one to do it. Going back to our activity today, that's why we asked every teacher to individually practice this form. So there's kind of having those roles and responsibilities, and active participation, divisional labor, all of that applies both on the individual level and also on the grade level as well. So all of you guys can kind of self-assess based on where you are individually or grade level, and then we will continue to provide professional learning and discourse opportunities to build our capacity, and then hopefully be a little bit more effective in our practices. Because really what we want to do is reduce the anxiety and stress, and also make sure that our students are academically progressing as quickly as they should be and can be, so that students don't get behind and teachers don't get left behind. And really that was the ultimate kind of, spark for, or idea for STAR anyway. It was supporting teachers and accelerating results. And so we really want to truly get back to the meaning of STAR, and sometimes we need to reflect and just continue to move forward in our improvement processes. So I will again stop talking. The counselors can pause this and go back to the discussion about, I think the expectations are pretty clear from Ms. Allen and myself on the things I just discussed, but the counselors can go back and talk you through any concerns you have about SST paperwork, if you need to discuss progress monitoring and interventions, anything that you need to support you being proficient in your own individual or grade level participation in STAR. The counselors can help you with accessing those resources or facilitating that conversation at this point. So it is 9 minutes and 10 seconds, and I am signing off. Hope to see you soon, Dr. Dilmar.